Hi friends, it's Ashley and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some more books that are coming out next year in 2026 that I'm excited for. So I've already talked about some YA fantasy books and fantasy romance books coming out next year that I'm really excited for. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about one of my other favorite genres, and that is cozy fantasy. Today I'll be sharing with you 10 cozy fantasy books that are coming out next year in 2026 that I'm excited for. And these are all adult cozy fantasy books. And as usual, we're going to be talking about these in order of release date from soonest to latest. Book number 1 comes out on January 20th, and it's How to Lose a Goblin in 10 Days by Jessie Silva. And so this one is a cozy tale of a halfling and a goblin who must learn to love each other despite their differences. So our main characters in this one are a halfling named Pansy and a goblin named Wren. And the two of them end up inheriting the same house. And they are not happy about this. And so they end up making a deal where they'll both live in the house together, and whoever is driven out first forfeits their ownership of the house. And so at first they don't want anything to do with each other, but then they are threatened by a common enemy, and so they end up having to team up to get rid of this intruder and save the cottage and their community. It does say in the description that this book is perfect for fans of the Honey Witch and the Spell Shop. Book number 2 comes out on January 30th, and it is The Elsewhere Express by Samantha Sotto Yambao. So this one is by the same author who wrote Watermoon, which I read this earlier this year, back I think in March, and I ended up loving this. It's very much a Ghibli-esque fantasy, and it was just so cozy. And so this one is about this train that is called the Elsewhere Express, and it pairs only to those whose lives are adrift, and it's a magical train seeming to carry very rare and special cargo, a sense of purpose, peace, and belonging. And it looks like we're going to be following two characters, Rhea, who is one of those lost souls, and she had dreamed of being a songwriter, but then her brother died, and so she ended up giving up her dream and living his dream instead. And then on the train, she ends up meeting our second character, Q, who was also an artist and has also lost his way on the path of life. And this one sounds like it's going to be just as magical and whimsical and cozy as Watermoon was, because it says that the train is full of wonders, including a boarding car that is also a meadow, to a dining car where passengers can picnic on lily pads, to a bar where jellyfish and whales swim through pink clouds. Like, that just sounds so whimsical. And like Watermoon, there also is going to be a dark, dangerous side to this world as well, because this train also has secrets and danger, because a mysterious stranger has stowed away and brought with him a dark, evil magic that threatens to destroy the train. Book number 3 comes out on February 17th, and is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. So this one I am super excited for, because it's by the same author that wrote the Emily Wilde series, and I absolutely love this series. And so I'm really excited for this new series by her. And so this one follows a woman who runs a cat rescue in 1920s Montreal, who turns to a grouchy but charming magician to help save her shelter. And that's all I need to know to want to pick this one up, because that premise alone just has so much potential, and I have a lot of faith in Heather Fawcett. Book number 4 comes out on March 31st, and it's A Widow's Charm by Caitlyn Paxson. So this one follows a widow who attempts to resurrect her dead husband by blackmailing her rakish necromancer neighbor, only to find herself falling for him instead. Book number 5 also comes out on March 31st, and it's a Geomagician by Jennifer Mandula. And this is book 1 in a duology. So our main character in this one is Mary, and she wants to be a geomagician, which is a paleontologist who uses fossils to wield magic. But the Geomagical Society of London refuses to admit women, and so she's stuck selling her discoveries to tourists instead. However, she is in possession of an ancient egg that ends up hatching in her hands one day and revealing a baby pterodactyl, which she then names Ajax. And she knows that this scientific find could make her career. And so she ends up contacting the Geomagical Society of London, but they end up demanding that she hand over Ajax. So the society ends up sending Henry Stanton out to retrieve the pterodactyl. And he is a distinguished scholar, but he is also the man who broke Mary's heart. However, Mary refuses to hand over Ajax to him because she is afraid that the society will take credit for her find. And so our story goes from there. Book number 6 comes out on April 7th, and it's The Impossible Garden of Clara Thorne by Summer N. England. So this one follows Clara Thorne, who after a lonely childhood is living out her happy ending as the magically gifted gardener for the town of Moss. And she has a surly hedgehog as a companion. And then one day, the goddess ends up choosing her for an important quest. Travel to the cursed town of Dwindle and grow them a garden, and do it in less than a month. But the problem with this is Clara is hiding a secret, and that is that her magic doesn't work outside the town of Moss. And add to that, the goddess has assigned the absurdly sexy, annoyingly cheerful Hesper Altenfall to keep her safe. And so our story goes from there. Book number 7 comes out on April 21st and is Thistlemarsh by Moorea Corrigan. So our main female character in this one is Mouse, and she once dreamed of becoming a fairy anthropologist, but that was before the Battle of Dun. And during this battle, her cousin disappeared into the mud, and her brother was left with debilitating shell shock, and so she left behind her dreams to take care of her brother. However, one day she receives news that her uncle has left her the fairy-blessed Thistlemarsh Hall, which is a dilapidated manor in the English countryside. And so she ends up having to leave her brother's side and go back to this childhood home so she can reclaim her birthright. However, this comes with a catch, and that is if she does not rehabilitate the crumbling house in 1 month's time, she will forfeit her inheritance and any hope of caring for her brother. Unfortunately, though, when she gets there, she realizes that fixing this house up in a month's time is like impossible. But then a mysterious fairy ends up appearing and offering her a deal. And he offers to restore the house, but with a price. And Mouse knows that she should not be making deals with fairies. She shouldn't trust them, but she doesn't really have any other option, and so she agrees to a deal. And so our story goes from there. Book number 8 comes out on June 16th, and it's Wildflower by Becky Jenkinson. So this one follows florist Felicity Fliss, who was cursed from birth to tell the truth. And one day she ends up receiving an anonymous request to retrieve a mysterious flower. And her search for this flower ends up bringing her into the path of Willow Vane. And he is an outcast because it's rumored that he used dark magic to corrupt the Northern Forest 5 years ago. And because of this, he has a feud going on with Prince Bastian, who Fliss's best friend, Card, is soon to marry. And Will ends up offering Fliss help to gather the flowers, and she reluctantly agrees to his help. But as the wedding becomes closer, Fliss is afraid that the flowers are intended for an evil purpose. And so she tries to warn people, but no one wants to listen to her. And so now it's up to her and Will to save the kingdom from disaster. And the description of this one also says that the book will contain hand-drawn floral sketches. Book number 9 comes out on July 28th, and it's Sea of Charms by Sarah Beth Durst. So this is by the author who wrote The Spell Shop and The Enchanted Greenhouse, and this one takes place in that same universe. So this one follows Marin, who, betrayed by love, works as a supply runner. And so she sails from island to island, delivering an array of goods. And her crew consists of Perry the sea serpent and Ree the sailor shrub. And one day, on one of her routine trips to the capital, she finds that there is a revolution underway, and that her friend Dax is in danger. And so she ends up rescuing him, and the two of them end up making a deal. And she will keep him as a member of her crew if he will pretend to be her boyfriend at the end of Harvest Festival back home. And so our story goes from there. Book number 10 also comes out on July 28th, and it's Theodora's Tea Shop by Christy and Joan. Our story follows Dorothy, nicknamed Dot, who should have died when she was 14 years old. Instead, she grew up into a timid woman, frugal, ill, overeducated, and constantly dreaming of running away to learn magic. And then one day, she ends up hearing about a woman, a witch named Theodora, that might be able to take her on as an apprentice. And so she ends up setting off on a journey to the city of Alistair. It turns out that Theodora is empress of an underground syndicate peddling magic from the quaint facade of her tea shop. And unfortunately, Dot's arrival threatens to unearth the secrets of Theodora and to topple her empire. And the description also says that this takes place in an atmospheric 1920s, and that there is a creepy demon who owns a department store, and that if you love Howl's Moving Castle, you will adore this book. Alright, so those are 10 cozy fantasy books that are coming out next year in 2026. Let me know down below which ones caught your eye. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!